Hey guys, this week the question is it good to complain or not? So the answer is going to be very surprising, but first I want to tell you a little story about the person called Job. So Job is in one of the 24 books of the written Torah, one of the last books, the book of Job. Uh, and the story of Job is a terrible story, what happened to him. Now, the stories of the Torah are, most of them actually happened, but they weren't only stories. It's not just history. The stories of the Torah are stories that we could learn from, and we have to learn from them. It's not anything was written, because there's a lot of other things that happened back in those days, but not everything was written. So what was written and kept till now is stuff that we have to actually learn from, and stuff that apply to us as well. So the book of Job is even more than that. It never really happened. Most opinions is that the story of Job never happened. It's just a parable. Whoever wrote it was in Moshe Rabbeinu, Avram Avinu. There's a lot of opinions who wrote it, but most opinions are that this person never existed. It was just a parable, so we could learn from his story. So the story goes like this: Job was a very rich, very wealthy person, and he had all the good things in the world. He had a big house. He had a lot of sheep and camels and slaves, and he had children. He had happiness. He had family, and everything. And then one day, suddenly, he lost everything. One thing after another. His house burnt down. His children died. All his wealth got stolen or burnt, whatever it was. And not only that, after all this, after he lost everything, suddenly starts losing also his health. And his health starts deteriorating. And he has the skin issue that he can't deal with. So he puts himself inside sand so that he won't feel his skin problems. And he has a few friends, and his friends find out that he's in trouble, so they come and to see what his trouble is, and they find out that all his family died and he lost everything. And they find him sitting there inside sand, he was basically covered in sand, so he doesn't feel his skin problems. And so they start asking what happened, and he tells them, I think God's doing to me a lot of God's giving me a lot of trouble and pain and suffering. Why is God doing this to me? Why is God? He was a very righteous person. The book starts with him being a very righteous person. He never did anything wrong. And that's his claim the whole time. The whole book, he's telling his friends, I never did anything wrong. I don't know why God inflicts pain on righteous people. And righteous people get punished. Why is this happening? Why do righteous people get punished? And bad people prosper. That's the word. So his friends the whole time are saying, no, there's no such thing that completely righteous person is going to suffer. For sure you did something wrong in your life. And Job the whole time is saying, no, I never did anything wrong in my life. I want to meet God. I want to tell God. I want to ask God, why is he doing this to me? I never did anything wrong. The whole time he wants to know why God is doing all this pain. Why is God giving him all this pain? So basically, the whole book, the friends of Job, tell Job that basically there's no such thing, that you never did anything wrong, and you're getting pain. In the end of the book, God shows up and he answers Job. The answer why he's getting all this suffering. And the answer is not because he did anything wrong. He was a righteous person. He never did anything wrong in his life. And God tells off the friends of Job. I'm not going to say now what the answer was, basically, because that's not the point now. The point now is about the complaining. But God tells off the friends of Job of telling Job that for sure he did something wrong, because Job never did anything wrong. And why do the friends of Job think that someone's going to get punished only because they do anything wrong? No, there's a lot of calculations that God has in the world. The world is not only what we see. There's the world to come. There's after a person dies. There's before a person was born. There was, since the days of creation, a person in this world can't really understand. So that's what basically that's what God answers Job. The person can't really understand why stuff happened. But not only, people don't only suffer because if they did anything wrong, but also God tells off his friends of Job for not empathizing, sympathizing with Job, and they just tell him he did something wrong because Job was a good person, and tell him off for complaining. And why did they tell him off for complaining? He's just seeking for the truth. And it's a great thing. They're seeking for the truth. The whole time saying, I know there's a God. I know the God is inflicting me with pain. I want to know why. And God praises this. And then in the book, Job gets double all what he had. He gets double all his wealth. He gets double the children. He gets a lot of things. I'm not saying they could compare to what he had before, because after all, he lost what he had. But he got the pain for reasons that we can't understand, and that's what God tells him. And then that he's not going to be able to understand why he got this pain. But one thing you should know, it wasn't because he did anything wrong. So I think what we could learn from the story is that one of the things that we could learn from here is that when people suffer, it doesn't have to mean that they did anything bad. And when we suffer, we should understand that we should ask. And it's good to ask. And we should seek for the answers why we're suffering. Because sometimes it could be because we did something wrong. And then we could fix it. We could repent. We could do tshuva. But sometimes we're not going to find out the answer. Sometimes we didn't do anything wrong. But that doesn't exempt us from looking for the answer and why we're suffering. And we could ask. And it's great that we ask and we acknowledge there's a God, and we acknowledge that God is the one that's inflicting us in pain, that nothing happens without God causing it to happen. So when we complain to God, we're saying, why is God giving me all this pain? Basically, we're saying, I know there's a God. I know that the God is inflicting me with the pain. And that's great. That's a huge it's a really great thing that a person with all the pain could still say, God, why are you giving me this pain? And not just ignore it and say, why is there so much pain? He knows everything is coming from God. He could pray to God to stop it. We could pray to God to stop our pain. But the most important thing is that God is in the picture. That we're saying, that we're complaining to God. Why is God giving us the pain? And basically when we're talking to God, we can ask God to stop the pain. And at the end of the day, Job's pain stopped. And he gets the answer. But he gets the answer that he's not really understand. But he's praised. He's praised for complaining and looking for the answer. So we shall all have a great Shabbos and never ignore anything that happens to us. If something bad happens to us, we should complain and find out why it's happening. Have a great Shabbos.